The great nuptial flight is over. For a brief, glorious afternoon, a young princess rode the high winds, mating with males in a massive synchronized aerial swarm. But as she tumbles back to Earth, her brief moment of absolute freedom evaporates instantly. She is now a mated queen, carrying a lifelong supply of genetic material, and the clock on her survival has officially begun. Her magnificent wings, once her ticket to the sky, are now a lethal liability. On the ground, they are bright targets for predators and physical obstacles to digging. Using her strong legs and sharp mandibles, she undergoes a brutal self-mutilation, scraping, chewing, and snapping off the wings until they flutter uselessly into the dirt. She is no longer a creature of the air. She is now built entirely for the subterranean depth. Unprotected and exposed on the surface, she is a high-protein prize for an army of predators. Spiders, beetles, and birds patrol the leaf litter. Every second she spends in the open brings her closer to death. She must find a suitable patch of earth to break ground before her scent trail alerts the hunters of the forest floor. Finding a patch of soft clay, she begins to dig with ferocious speed. Her mandibles tear into the earth, lifting loads of soil many times her own weight. This is the cold open of her subterranean empire. A desperate, exhausting excavation against time, carving out a sanctuary where she can lock herself away from the dangers of the upper world. At the bottom of her short shaft, she excavates a tiny, spherical room barely larger than her own body. This is her claustral chamber, a highly specialized survival cell designed to isolate her entirely from the outer ecosystem. There are no grand corridors or storage rooms here, just a tight, compact bunker engineered for maximum energy conservation. With the chamber complete, she executes her most extreme survival decision. She seals the entrance. Grabbing loose mud from the floor and walls, she packs the tunnel tight, sealing it from the inside out. By destroying the doorway, she guarantees that no predator can easily track her, but she also seals her own fate. There is no way back out. The door is closed, and the countdown begins. Now begins the absolute lockdown. From this moment on, there will be no foraging, no food, and no outside help. The queen must survive weeks, sometimes months, in total isolation. To pull off this impossible thermodynamic feat, she relies on a secret biological engine. Her massive, useless wing flight muscles will now be systematically digested and broken down internally to fuel her survival. This is the ultimate survival sprint. As the days bleed into weeks, the queen literally eats herself from the inside out. Her body systematically consumes its own fat reserves and breaks down the protein of her dissolved flight muscles. Many founding queens lose over half of their entire body mass during this phase, walking a razor-thin line between generating new life and total biological starvation. Despite her starving state, the queen's reproductive system springs into action. Within days of sealing her tomb, she lays her very first batch of eggs. They are microscopic, glowing white specks of pure potential, representing the entire genetic future of her species. She gathers them tenderly, nesting them in a neat pile against the damp earth. The sealed dampness of the underground cell is a breeding ground for deadly molds and fungal spores. Left alone, the eggs would rot within 48 hours. The queen becomes a meticulous full-time nurse. She constantly licks and cleans every single egg, coating them with a specialized antiseptic saliva that keeps them perfectly sterile and hydrated. Weeks pass, and the eggs begin to hatch. Out emerge tiny, soft-bodied, worm-like larvae. They have no legs, no eyes, and no way to feed themselves. They rely entirely on their mother, but with the chamber still completely sealed and no food in sight, the queen must make the ultimate metabolic sacrifice to keep them alive. To feed her hungry babies, the queen performs a chemical miracle. Her body processes the dissolved proteins from her broken-down flight muscles into a rich, hypernutritional salivary fluid. She regurgitates this chemical cocktail directly into the mouths of her larvae. She is literally feeding her offspring with her own liquefied physical body. When her fluid reserves run dangerously low, the queen deploys another survival strategy: trophic eggs. These are specialized, non-viable eggs packed with pure yolk and protein, produced solely as baby food. She feeds these sterile eggs directly to her largest larvae, recycling her own internal energy to ensure that at least a few individuals reach maturity. Now comes the peak tension point. Weeks have turned into months. The queen is physically spent, her body tissue completely hollowed out by months of starvation and constant nursing. Her larvae have spun silk cocoons, entering the final pupal stage of development. It is a desperate, silent race against time. Will she starve to death before her first workers awaken to save her? Finally, the day of reckoning arrives. Inside one of the silk cocoons, a tiny leg moves. The queen carefully bites open the tough silk envelope, assisting her firstborn as it emerges into the dark chamber. This is her very first worker, a historical milestone that marks the beginning of a brand new superorganism. These first-generation workers are called nanitics because the starving queen could provide only the bare minimum of nutrition. These ants are significantly smaller, weaker, and have shorter lifespans than normal workers, but they are fully functional, highly motivated, and structurally complete, engineered purely to break the lockdown. Within hours of hatching, their instincts kick in. The nanitics ignore their own weakness and climb to the sealed entrance. Using their tiny jaws, they begin clawing through the hard, packed mud plug that has sealed the chamber for months. They carve a microscopic escape hatch, breaking out into the blinding open air of the yard. They return bearing gifts. The nanitics forage close to home, gathering sweet nectar drops and rich insect proteins from the surrounding grass. They navigate back down the tunnel and feed their starving mother, injecting her with the raw calories she needs to recover. The siege is broken. The queen will never have to starve, and she will never have to leave the dark again. With the first generation of workers taking over all maintenance, foraging, and defense, the queen's role undergoes a radical transformation. She is no longer a builder, a nurse, or a survivor. She retires into the deepest, safest vault of the growing supercity, transforming into a pure, automated, biological egg-laying engine. It is a life defined by a beautiful, brutal trade-off. She exchanged the warm sun, the cool wind, and the wide open sky of her single day of freedom for a lifetime sealed inside a pitch-black tomb. But in that dark, she has built an empire that can live for decades, a testament to the incredible, silent engineering of the solo queen who dug her own grave to build a kingdom.